Hi everyone, welcome to Microsoft Reactor. It's amazing to be here with you all today. An amazing episode of Open Source Thursdays. And the goal of Open Source Thursdays is to help you all learn how you can get started as an open source developer, contributing to projects that make impact, to relevant solutions that can make the world a better place. Key things we need to take note of while on this live stream is to abide by Microsoft's code of conduct. On Microsoft Reactor, we want our sessions to go well, but most importantly, we want everybody on the live stream to enjoy the session. To make this happen, we implore you all to please be aware of others, be friendly and patient, welcoming and respectful, be understanding of the differences of each other, be kind, and most importantly, be considerate. You can always ask your questions in the comment section, and we'll be sure to respond to your question as this pre-recorded session goes on. This series is led by some amazing Microsoft Learn student ambassadors whom I'll be introducing soon. Microsoft Learn student ambassadors have the opportunity to contribute to Microsoft technology, to be part of Microsoft's amazing ecosystem. If you'd love to become a Microsoft Learn student ambassador, be sure to check out this link and register for the program. It's open to all students in higher institutions across the globe. So be sure to join us so you can empower others to achieve more. Now, in today's session, we'll be talking about open source and how you can find relevant communities in open source. At this point, I will be bringing on the amazing Microsoft Learn student ambassadors who are leading this program to get on with this session. I have Hussaina Etibalogun and Abiola Farombi. From our last session, Hussaina, you said we're going to have an amazing guest. And it's great to see Abiola as the guest who will be joining us on this stream. Hi, Hussaina. Hi, Abiola.
Hi, good morning. And good morning, evening, or afternoon to everybody else watching.
Great.
Hi everyone.
Nice to have you all here. So just before I pass it on to both of you, how's everything over there currently? How's the weather? Is it cold, hot? It's
It's
very
nice.
hot over here.
It's actually decent here. I'm in Akure, I'm in Ondo State, and it's okay. It's pretty normal.
Yeah,
Great,
same
great,
for me
great, great,
also.
great. Nice to learn that. So at this point, I'll pass it on to both of you to take on this session.
Okay, great. So again, welcome everybody to Open Source Thursdays. If you've been watching from the very first episode, you'll be used to my face. But if this is the first session that you're joining, hi. My name is Hussaina Etibalogun, and I'm a I like to say that I'm a software developer, but I'm just really passionate about tech in general. I'm not going to go too much into myself. I'm just going to let Abiola talk about herself a little bit because she hasn't been in one of these sessions before.
Right. Thanks, Osenat. So hi everyone. My name is Abiola Farambi. I'm a front-end engineer and also a technical writer. So have like years of experience in developing front-end applications and also in terms of writing and sharing my experience to others also. I during my years of experience, I was also able to contribute to open source projects from which I was able to gain to learn from like other people's projects and also to learn how to like contribute to projects and also to develop my skills better. I've been able to join programs that enabled me to be able to like develop my skills better in open source, and this has been really amazing for me, which I also like love to share with you guys in this session also. Yeah.
Cool. It's really lovely to have you. For those of you that are wondering, if you don't know the difference between a gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador and a beta Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, it just basically means that Abiola is my boss. That's what it means.
Well,
Um, so let's move on to the agenda. So this session, we're going to be talking about forming things. That is the places to find your interest-related projects, how to join communities, how to start contributing within those communities, and then different communities you could join as somebody who's interested in open source generally. So I'm just going to hand it over to Abiola to go through the first session. So first slide with us.
All right. Yeah, so like I said, welcome guys. So me and Sunant are going to be like handling the session today. So I'll be taking this first part. So for this section, we'll be talking about like places to find interest-related projects in terms of for you contributing to open source. So like in the earlier sessions that we had, that you guys have had earlier on the Open Source Thursdays, where we talked about the different how to get started with open source, and also in terms of you getting to know more about open source. So now when you're moving further to get to know communities that you could join and how to like actually join these communities. So you want to first of all find those projects that are related to your interest for you to start contributing. And these are different. So these are some different forums in which you can like find projects to contribute. So in the coming slides, I'm going to like explain in detail how you can use these platforms to be able to like find projects that are related to your interest. So from the first one I'll be taking is the GitHub. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So in terms of using GitHub, in terms of finding related projects, so GitHub is one of the largest open source platforms for you to find, open source related projects. Is like the term comes open source, so it's kind of like free for everyone to use. And through GitHub, you could be able to explore different projects through the Explore tab. You could easily search for like projects that relate to your interests. You can filter it down to the particular subject or particular language that you're looking for, and it's quite easy to use. It's quite easy to use and to be able to like move over like to find different projects and also go over the codes. Every project that is uploaded on GitHub is free to access, so there's no restriction to okay, the limit that you can see of a particular code that is there. So you can able to find that particular project that relates to your interest. There's also GitLab also. So GitLab also works similar to GitHub. It's also an open source platform, and it has also a vast collection of open source projects that provides tools for collaboration. You can also check for like the issues, different issues that maybe a particular project might have, and you can also so you can also explore like the different projects according to your interests, like also similar to also the way GitHub also works also. So they work side by side also. Yes. Okay. Then also the next one is also in terms of you using open source community platforms. So a lot of people may have heard about, okay, there's this platform I'm on, is an open source community and all. And so people may be wondering, okay, how can I actually find this open source community platform? How can I actually like join them and all? So most of them, they're always like, they are either, like I mentioned earlier, you can always find them on Twitter. So you can search your handles on Twitter, or maybe you can also search for their websites also. So some examples of like some open source community platforms you could check out that like some of the popular ones that are very available. We have like the Open Source Initiative, OSI. Then we also have Open Source Community Africa as OSCAR. Then we also have the Open Arch. So these platforms often have like different forums, like a general forums for you to be able to communicate with the other members of the community. So it's not just you joining an open-ended side of like community. They also have like mailing lists. So if you're able to like sign up for their mailing list, you're able to get updated to like informations regularly from them. So in terms of if you're looking for like maybe okay, what is the community doing recently? What can I participate? What the community is doing? This is like one of very like easier method for you to start with in terms of you finding projects also. So we also have open source directories.
Sorry, can I just say something really quickly? So Open Source Community Africa specifically. They have a festival coming up in June. So if you're in Lagos and you're interested in participating or networking with people in open source, that's a really good opportunity for you. I think you can just check out either their website or just type their name in on Eventbrite to get a ticket. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's June 15 to 18. Yeah. It's very. I've also attended one myself, and it was very interesting. I attended last year. I was able to connect with a lot of people while attending the program. So I'll say a must attend if you want to like really join projects and all. So I'll just go on. So we also have open source directories that you could also check out. So these directories are dedicated to listing open source projects. So you get easy access to different open source projects according to like how they are listed and all. I think you can also filter them by the various topics and making it easier for you to find a project that relates to your interest. So we have the www.demos.org. So from there you could like check out their websites to find different open source projects. We also have the awesomeopensource.com also. It's also a must check also. So moving forward, we also have online forums and discussion boards that you could also check. Like I mentioned earlier when I talked about joining open source communities in terms of like when you're finally able to like find those communities that you want to join. So it's not just about you finding them, you're also moving forward to join their forums where they have different discussions about what's going on in their communities. So we can also check out like some other like some other general ones. Like if you check Reddit, there's a particular category on Reddit where you could check for like open source related talks. Then we also have Stack Exchange, from where you could check for like under the open source Stack Exchange part. Then Quora also, that's one I also use regularly. Then you could find different dedicated sections talking about open source projects. So these forums are like they're generally available for everyone to access, so it's not restricted in any way or any format, and it's always readily available. That's another easy part. Moving forward, we also have conferences and events. So like Usinat mentioned earlier about the Open Source Community Africa event that is coming up. So this is also similar to like how events it's also similar to how you can like find projects that relate to your interest. So this is like a more general way, because when you attend these conferences, these meetups and these events, you're able to connect with other people who come from like I say a diverse place. Maybe you're working on a new project that you could also like find interesting. So not only are you getting to like know about their project, you're also able to network with them. You're able to meet people that are doing something different from what you're doing, and maybe you can also align your interest to them. So some places that you could check out for like events is Meetup. For Meetup, you're able to like see different events that are ongoing. You can also check Eventbrite also. There's also to like see other events that are also like happening. I think you can also filter it according to like your particular location and also a particular date and time you are looking at also. In terms of language or specific technology communities, so if you have like a specific programming language you are looking for or a technology in mind, looking for communities centered around that language or technology can be quite easy. For example, now if you have if you're like mainly specifically working on like a Python project, or you're like your base or interest is just Python, you can like check on like the Python Open Source Foundation. Or if, for example, JavaScript, and you have like the Node.js Foundation, and so on. So these communities often maintain their repositories and organize events where you can find open source projects. So it's much easier for you to like directly have access to them. So yeah. So remember that contributing to open source projects involves more than just finding them. It's also crucial to understand the project's goals, guidelines, and code base before making contribution. And also from my own personal experience, I could say that these forums and these platforms have actually like really helped me in finding projects that I was able to work on. For example, when I had to start, I was able to like first of all search using GitHub. Then from there, I was able to also search online through public through like general Twitter platform for me to be able to find, okay, these are the communities that are actually contributing project doing projects related to my interest, and from there I was able to start contributing. So I would say that this particular places actually help in finding your interest related projects. So I'll hand over to Senat for the next section.
Okay, great. Like, you're so good at explaining all this stuff. I'm like not surprised that you're a gold ambassador. So I'm now going to talk about how to join the communities. Um, so Abiola has talked about how to search for, how to find the communities that you're interested in, and finding a community is obviously like the first step. But then once you get to know once you know that, okay, this is the community that I'm interested in, how do you like pinpoint, how do you actually know like how to join? Because lots of communities have different like procedures of how people should contribute or join or start being active inside the community. So it varies depending on the specific platform or community you're interested in. But here are some of the general steps. The first one is to explore the project. So you start by researching and exploring the open source project you're interested in. You visit the website, the GitHub or GitLab or whatever repository that it's held on. You search it very well and like try to understand what the project is actually about. You visit the relevant community platforms and try to gather information about the project goals, the code base, and the community guidelines. So understanding the project's mission, objectives, and technologies is one of like the most important things to do when you're about to join a community. So the second thing is to read the documentation and contribution guidelines. Now, most open source projects have documentation that outlines how to contribute. So it's really helpful that most projects already have this, but some projects don't. And to be honest, when you're joining, that could be one of the things that you could do as a contributor is to help figure out how other people can contribute better. So you read the project's documentation thoroughly to understand the contribution process, their coding standards, their guidelines, and then it's very essential to familiarize yourself with the project's expectations and the requirements for contribution. The next thing to do is to get involved in discussions. So you join their mailing list, their forum, their chat channels. I joined when I joined the first open source like projects that I was ever doing. It was on GSOC, and the platform that they used to chat was something I had never ever heard of before. So I had to learn this new chat platform. I had to get the app, I had to get the web version and learn how to use it, right? So it's very important to understand where that community is most active. It could be Slack, Discord, Telegram, Elements, the list goes on. So the next thing to do, like after getting involved, is introduce yourself. Obviously, you want to join this community, but nobody knows who you are yet. So the best thing for you to do is open up. Don't be shy. Introduce yourself and express your interest in contributing. Then ask questions about the project. So these are great ways for you to start engaging in discussion and learning from the experience of other community members. The next thing you can now do is start with small tasks. So many open source projects have a list of beginner-friendly or good first issue tasks. So these tasks are usually smaller in scope and complexity, and it makes them ideal for newcomers to get started. So you have to look for these tasks and express your interest in working on them. And then this will allow you to familiarize yourself with the project's code base and the development workflow. The next thing to do is to contribute code or other skills. Now, a lot of people what do people think about like contributing to open source? A lot of people get like anxious because they think that it's all about like knowing how to code, and it's not. Like we talked about in the last session, there's different ways that you can contribute to a community or a project. So once you feel comfortable and you have a good understanding of the project, you start contributing, whether it's to the code base or to I don't want to say advertising, whichever channel they use to reach out to other people to get them involved, like their social media channels. You could contribute by helping organize the workflow or the way the community members interact. So it's all really dependent on what kind of contributions you want to do. But always remember to follow the contribution guidelines and the coding standards if you're coding. So other skills that you can contribute to, other skills that you can contribute with that go beyond coding include the documentation, the testing, design, even translation, which I don't think a lot of people like register in their heads. But yeah, like translation is one of the best ways to get other people who might not like be otherwise accessible to your project that you're interested in, get them on board, right? And then also community management. So the next thing to do is to submit pull requests. So when you're ready to start contributing code changes, you fork the project repository, you create a new branch, and you make your changes. So like I said before, and I'll keep reiterating, make sure you follow the project contribution guidelines. You follow the version control system workflow. Once you've made the necessary changes, then you submit a pull request, and you wait for it to be reviewed and for the maintainers to provide feedback, whether they're going to accept your pull request or maybe ask you to change a few things. So after submitting your pull request, just continue engaging and learning from the community. So contributing is it's an iterative process. It's not one and done. So the best thing is just try to be very active in participating in discussions, in asking questions, and in seeking feedback from the community. Obviously, you have a lot of experienced contributors and you'll have a lot of newbies like yourself. It's just best to just be free with as many people as you can. Yeah. So I'm going to now hand it back over to Abiola to tell us how to start contributing.
Thanks, Usinat. Usinat has mentioned about how to join the communities and the manner and approach you should take in doing that. So after you join the communities, you need to then proceed to how you could start contributing to the projects affiliated to the community you finally joined. So I'm going to explain like the steps you can take towards starting to contribute towards that project that you have in mind. First of all, you have to choose a project. Idea, okay, this is the particular project that I had in mind that I wanted to join. So selecting the project that aligns to your interest and expertise, first of all. Then you then consider the factors like the project size, the complexity, the community activity, and the technologies involved, if there's something that you can also keep up with. Then it's usually helpful to choose a project with active maintainers and a welcoming community. So once you're able to identify all those in that particular project that you finally found, and you notice that, okay, yes, this project aligns with what I want, then you can then proceed. So the next step is to set up the development environment. So every project has a different setup. Just like if you're creating your own personal project, there's always a different setup for that particular project. So being able to set up the necessary tools, the dependencies that the project involve, the particular platform, the software that you have to use for that particular project is very important. So if, for example, you don't even have an idea on it, something else mentioned, by you being able to interact on the platform, okay, I don't understand how this platform works, asking them questions, you're able to set up your development environment from them. Then you also refer to the project documentations also. They're always very resourceful. That's actually gone a long way in helping me whenever I wanted to always start contributing to projects. I'm always able to check documentation. Okay, this is how this person did it. And sometimes even going through the comment section to know, okay, if someone had a particular issues relating to what I'm having also goes a long way in helping. Then the next step is exploring the code base. Honestly, I feel this part is one of the most trickiest parts for me because it's always wow, a whole lot of new thing. I'm saying this, I'm saying that. Oh, let's start from. So it's always very new to me and all, but honestly, it's not hard. It's kind of kind of like the easiest step that you can actually go through when you're getting started with like a new project and you're seeing the code base, looking like a lot of codes, different folders, different files, different things doing different functions, doing another thing, and you don't understand really how the project works and all. But trust me, this particular step can actually be much easier than it seems. So one step you could take to getting this particular step easier is familiarizing yourself with the project code base by reading documentation, the source code, and any available guides. The guides go a long way in helping because most of the times there are always guides that okay, this is what this particular file does, this is what this project, this particular folder does, and all. And if you're able to like get access to these guides, you're able to get faster understanding or easier understanding of how the project works in general. And also being able to understand the project architecture, because there will definitely be a particular format in which the code is being placed. Then also the coding styles, the conventions, because there's going to be definitely different from the way you do your project and all. But if you're able to get to understand, okay, this is how the project works and all, once you're able to do that, it's much easier for you to onboard, not having to like go through the process like in a rigorous manner at all. So another thing I would advise when starting to contribute to projects is taking small tasks. It might look like you may want to start like, okay, this is the project I've seen. I want to like change the whole code base in one day and all. So I advise that you first of all start with like the little tasks, like just taking, even if it's just a little change, like you can like want to implement in the project, start with that first, honestly. So there's always like a particular section or a particular category for a good first issue or beginner friendly issues that you can always search for. So most of the times when you're searching for project on GitHub, there's always this tag written on it, beginner friendly issues or good first issues. Our advice is start with those ones first. It may be too little for you, it may be too much for you, but starting with those ones like go a long way towards making it simpler and easier for you to like onboard with the project code base. So, if, like I mentioned, might just be involving fixing a typo error, or maybe might just be maybe improving the documentation, addressing a little bug or the other. Starting with those little things make it more easier for you to get started with it. Then next, reading the contribution guidelines. Each open source project or every open source project always has a contribution guidelines for open source contributors that are interested in contributing towards their project. So there will always be specific guidelines there will always be specific guidelines for people to want to like for people who are interested in their project, for them to know, okay, these are the steps you need to take, these are the process you need to follow, this is how the project is documented, and it's always in a contributing.md file. So most of the times it's always in the general project folder in the contributing.md file, and it's always easy to navigate through it. So when you're able to read and understand these guidelines carefully before making any contributions at all. Moving on to the sixth one, join the community. So, join the community. Like Usenat mentioned, once we're able to find the project and we're able to like also find the community, it's best for one to also join the community. Engaging with the project community by joining their mailing lists, chat channels, or discussion forums. Once you're able to like join those particular forums and all, it's best for one to introduce themselves, like you said also. Don't just be a ghost on the platform. Introduce yourself, express your interest towards contributing towards that particular project, and also ask for guidance when needed. Honestly, it will go a long way than just keeping quiet and just like watching how things go on or watching how everything just and trying to like taking it all by yourself and not trying to like relate to other people. Engaging with the community allows you to learn from experienced contributors, ask questions, and receive feedback on your own work, which will go a long way towards making you progress on that particular project that you want to contribute on. So the seventh one will be working on larger tasks. So now you familiarize yourself with the project. You already like know the ins and the outs of the project. You know everything related to the project. So now you can now like progress further towards even taking more tasks, larger tasks that will like show, let's say, bigger effects and all. Because now you're able to like know, okay, this is how this project work and this is what the project needs or like future terms of the project and all. So this can involve you maybe implementing a new feature or maybe optimizing the code even like to like an extra level, or maybe even assigning yourself issues by yourself proposing new ideas to the project community channels, telling them, okay, this is what I feel the project can have. This is something that the project could like improve better on. So all this can also like be some things that I can like take on to make the project even better and all. Then being able to collaborate and submit contributions. So once you have worked on a particular task, resolved an issue, or maybe created a new branch in your version control, making the, and be able to make the necessary changes, you're able to write clean and you're able to write a clean and documented code, then you can now like progress towards like also wanting to like finally push it to like I say push it to live or pushing it like to like the open, because most of the changes you have done were maybe on your local system and you finally want to like share it with, okay, this is what I've worked on, this is the changes I've made and all. So being able to like also collaborate, okay, if you're able to finally make that pull request, like your first pull request obviously, so once you're able to make your pull request, then you finally, okay, someone comment that, okay, you still have extra changes to do, you take on those changes and you need to work on them, then being finally able to like submit that pull request, then the next step will be being able to iterate and incorporate feedback. So maybe, for example, you submit that the first pull request, or you submit the pull request to that project, and then sorry, and then you get like a particular feedback on the project on what you worked on. That, okay, yeah, this is not how to do this, or maybe you missed out something, or maybe you didn't follow a particular guideline, and then you're able to they suggest like particular feedback or improvement on it. It's very important that you're responsive to their comments, address the any issues they have raised, or iterate any particular changes that they want on your project. This collaboration and feedback are essential in the aspect of open source contributions. So be open to suggestions and be willing to make changes at all times. Then finally, continue to contribute and learn. So don't just stop in that first pull request. Don't just stop with that first contribution or with that first change that you did. Progress further, add more contributions. Don't there's this thing, don't be like I do in the community. That don't, okay, I've completed my first open source and that's the end of it. There's still so much that you can do actually, and it can go a long way towards helping you progress, even in your skill learning also. So those are, if you're able to like follow these steps accurately, I can assure you that definitely contributing to your first open source project will be so much easier and to be an easy onboarding flow for you. So I'll be handing over to Sena to take the next section. Thank you.
If you're still confused about how to contribute to open source, then I don't think you were really listening to Abiola. So thank you very much, Abiola, for going so like deeply and explaining really how to contribute. Now, this slide is a bit, you're probably here wondering, why is anime on the screen? When we were doing these slides, I was with my friend and I was thinking about how do we merge people's interests with open source. Like me, I'm very passionate about the space sector. I'm very passionate about space exploration. So obviously anything that I want to do, that I want to contribute within open source is going to be related to the space sector. But then I was thinking, what about my friend here that he has no no inclination towards tech. His only interest is anime. So how would I merge those two things together? So I just searched projects related to anime or anime in open source, and these are just a few of the projects that came up. So if you have a very specific niched interest and you want to contribute to open source, there will most likely always be a place for you. And even if there isn't a place for you, you can create your own, and then like other people will join. So these are just a few anime related open source projects that if you're interested in anime and contributing to open source, you can collaborate with people on. So the first on our list here is AniList, and it's basically a popular anime and manga community that allows you to track your watch series, create lists, and even engage in discussions. So this picture right here is of One Piece, I believe. I don't really watch anime. But let's say you're really enjoying One Piece and you can't wait until you want to watch maybe the 900th episode, but you're still on like 700th episode. You can go to the, or like one of the discussion forums and be like, hey, I'm really enjoying Luffy doing this with this person. And then somebody could come in and be like, yeah, like you're even going to be more surprised at what happens in episode blah, blah, blah. So apart from being a place where you can contribute, it's also a place where you can like make friends that have common interests. So Analyst is an active development community and obviously an open source project on GitHub, and you can contribute to their open source project and collaborate with fellow anime enthusiasts who are passionate about tech and anime. So the second thing on the list is anime-related open source projects on GitHub. Like I said, when I was looking for this list, all I had to do was really search anime-related projects within open source. So if you like search within GitHub with keywords like anime or manga, or even like the name of whatever specific anime you're interested in, you will find projects relating to it. And obviously not just anime, whatever your interest is, whether it's agriculture or microbiology or bee nest making, I don't know. So the third thing on the list is Open Anime, which is a project that creates an open and decentralized platform for sharing anime-related data. So there are some people who are really interested in like visualization and data science. If you're more of like a chart person, like you like to look at like numbers and you want to look at the statistics of how many, I don't know, females watch a specific type of anime, Open Anime is one of the best places for you to go to for data relating to anime. You can contribute to their project by participating in discussions, proposing features, or contributing code. They welcome contributors who are interested in open source and anime. Now, the fourth one is Anime.js. And Anime.js actually has nothing to do with anime itself, but it's an animation library. It's a JavaScript animation library. So if you're interested in the functions of creating animations in web development projects, Anime.js is the place for you. And the very last thing is just joining open source communities with anime enthusiasts. So let's say you find a project that's really interesting to you, you make friends. That person might have another community that you can join that they suggest to you. Always be willing and ready to make new friends, talk to people, and join as many communities as you can, because you never know who or what is going to lead you to the best position or your best self, your best, your best position in life, right? So that is it. I just want to quickly talk about, apart from this specifically niched anime in open source, Microsoft has its own open source in Microsoft community. Their website, we'll share the link to the website under, I think maybe in the description. So if you're also interested in Microsoft related projects that you can contribute to within open source, then that would be a very, very good place for you to find. I'll now take it back to Abiola.
All right, so in this section, I'll go over some open source internship programs, free and open for like everyone to participate in. So after being able to find your particular interest, you're able to contribute to a particular project, and you're able to onboard to a particular project, you may want to also go further towards, maybe participating in other programs, whereby you also get like still contributing to open source project also, but it's more like streamlined to a particular program. So in this section, I'll just go over a list of some few of them. So first off, we have like the MLH fellowship. So for this one, it occurs in batches throughout it's a year-long program and occurs in different batches. There's the summer, there's the spring, and there's the winter program. And it allows, so there's a general application process, and it allows people to to contribute to like different open source projects depending on the particular organization they partner with. So people are able to contribute to a particular project, and always for a cycle of 3 months. But for 3 months, the first batch gets to contribute to a particular project, and the next 3 months, and like in that particular format and all. Then we also have outreachy. So for outreachy is more of a diverse type of set, because it accepts like a variety of people from underrepresented areas. So it's not open to everyone in general, just some people from underrepresented sections. And so from there, if you're able to apply for it, then go through the application process. It's also similar to MLH, as it occurs in batches also. It occurs twice, 2 cycles in a year. And from there, you're able to get the opportunity to also contribute to different open source projects. And it's also a paid program also. So even while contributing, you get to also receive stipends for the contribution that you do to the project. There's a contribution phase, and there's also the final process where you get to finally work with the organization. So if you're able to scale through the contribution phase, you then get to the final process to finally like work on that project with the organization. So we have the 24 pull request. It's freestyle in the sense that it occurs just in December for the first 24 days. For each 24 days, you have to make at least a pull request to a particular project for like the 24 days cycle in December. Then once you're able to do that, then you're able to like complete like a challenge sort of. So you're able to complete the challenge, and like at the end of the day, you're able to like gain experience and contribute to different projects during that particular cycle of the program. Then we have the Linux Foundation one. So this is also similar to the ones I mentioned earlier. It's also a paid program, and you get to contribute to like open source projects that is currently partner with for that particular cycle. So it occurs twice in a year. Yeah, if I'm correct. Cost twice in a year, and from there, they align the applicants with the particular project, a particular organization to then work on that particular project. They get to submit 3 projects in one for the first for the that 3 month cycle that you are getting to work with, and all. Yeah. So I'll be inviting Jaflet and Usena to take up the last part. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Abiola, for bringing us back up to talk about open source at Microsoft. And we decided to leave the best for the last. Husseina, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So Microsoft has also an open source program where they give developers the opportunity to create open source solutions. And this is one of them. In this blog, which we have created, we outline all of the open source opportunities that Microsoft has for you. You can contribute to open source, whether you're a student, whether you are a professional, or you're just someone that loves making an impact and would love to make an impact on real world projects. So be sure to check over the link that is currently being shown down at the bottom, aka.ms/discover open source at Microsoft, to learn about these opportunities that you can jump on. It's an amazing one, and definitely something that you would enjoy. So, thank you for allowing me to talk about open source at Microsoft to Sena and Abiola. I'll pass it over now to Husseina to talk about what we are going to learn in the next section.
Okay. Thank you very much to Avila for joining this session. I know that everybody has a busy schedule, and as a Gold ambassador, I know that you're probably doing a lot of things. And thank you to Jaflet for always being here and being ready to help moderate and organize. So I hope you guys have learned a lot this session, and I hope that you are ready to implement the things that you've learned. So like we talked about in one of the last slides about niching down into your interest specific open source projects. Next session, we're going to be talking about open source for space enthusiasts like myself. That's why I wanted to dedicate a whole session just for space related open source projects. We're going to talk about places to find space related projects, how to join space related communities, and how to start contributing to space related projects. So if you haven't already, please go to this link here to register. And as always, we're using Microsoft Reactor, so we would like to get feedback about each session. So please don't forget to go to the survey link, use this code for this session, and just tell us how you enjoyed it, anything that you want to improve. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. And I hope you have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening.